Hey everyone, welcome back to the Limitless Health Podcast. It's Tracy and Jess and our favorite Dr. Christina Erndl, naturopathic
Hey guys.
expert, and um, we're talking about cold plunging today because there's
And
been
Woohoo.
it's a
specifically,
buzz it's a buzzword specifically with women.
yeah, specifically with women. I mean, we were talking whenever that was the last time we got together for podcasting, and all of these blanket statements. We were talking about how annoyed we are that women should not do X, Y, and Z, and women should do X, Y, and Z. And Dr. Randall, you can speak from your perspective, but as a physical therapist and health coach perspective, like it's not one size fits all. Not every human is the same, and particularly even within the difference between women and men, clearly two different biochemistries and physiologies and the whole thing, but even woman to woman is different. And then a woman inside of herself in this decade versus the next decade. And so, anyway, we were just talking how annoyed we were at these blanket statements. Women should not. And then just recently, there was a podcast and it got interpreted that women should not cold plunge. So again, we're just we're gonna unpack the blanket statement of that because that's not exactly what the podcast said. But of course, somebody takes something out of context, and then here we go down the rabbit trail of all of these shouldn'ts and shoulds and all that. So welcome, Dr. Christina.
Hi. Yeah, I've been seeing all over the internet recently, like women shouldn't cold plunge. And I'm like, wait, I thought last year everyone was like on board with this cold plunging thing. And now all of a sudden, probably because of that podcast, and there's probably a few out there that said women shouldn't cold plunge. And I'm like, huh. Well, and I think why people say that now is because a lot of the research is unfortunately done on men. And that's not just for cold plunging, that is for most
Mhm.
medical things, most diseases, that affect both people. A lot of the research and treatments and things like that are unfortunately just done on men. And we know that we aren't the same. Our cycles are a little bit different than men, and men do have a cycle as well on their own. They're not bleeding, obviously, but they do have hormonal shifts throughout the month as well. But um, for women, I think the benefits of cold plunging outweigh the potential risks. And like you said, like even woman to woman, like not everyone is the same. And that's why an individualized approach is always important, no matter what type of like therapy or treatment or modality you're using. It should be used based on what the individual needs and if it's safe for them. Um, so
Yeah.
prefacing that by like cold plunging isn't safe for everyone, not just, oh, is it not safe for women? There is potential reasons why it could potentially not be safe for you. So always asking whoever you're working with, medical provider, healthcare practitioner, if cold plunging is right for you and if it's safe for you. Um, and a lot of times I
Yeah.
say, like, just
Yeah.
listen to your body. Like, if something doesn't feel right, then don't do it. Harder to say with cold plunging because most people
Yes.
getting in a cold plunge
This
are
is
not
true.
comfortable. Like usually your
This is
body and
true.
yeah, your body and your mind are screaming like, get out, like we're not safe. But
Yes.
um it's actually a benefit though to like override that system in that moment and continue to breathe and stay in because that's where you get the benefits from.
Hmm.
And I know both of you
Hmm.
guys cold plunge or have cold plunged before. And I
Hmm.
think Tracy, you've said before, like when you first did it, you were like, no, I can't, I don't want to do
I
this.
mean, if you would have told me, I don't know, like 4 years ago that I would cold plunge, that would have been a hard pass. And so I also think too, like you got to get the person in the right season. 4 years
Yeah.
ago, did I know that there was health benefits? Yeah, but there was no way I was going to participate in those health benefits because it didn't speak to me at the time. And it was something uncomfortable and I don't like cold. And so at that season, I'm like, hard pass, not going to do it. And then I started having reasons why I might question why I would want to do that. And it really stemmed for me was this chronic ear pressure, like feeling like I had an ear infection all the time.
Mm.
And, doctors like, nope, you don't have an ear infection. And I felt like I had water in my ear all the time. So clearly there was some sort of inflammatory something in my body, right? And so that stemmed me to, all right, I am going to suck this up for a month. Like I kind of made a goal for myself of I'm going to try this for a month. And if it helps my ear pressure, then okay. And if it doesn't, then peace out. And it did. And my ear stuff went away. And I also felt freaking energized afterwards. So, we talk about like, I don't want to be in there. I get in and I'm like, I want to get out.
Mhm.
And when you're like, listen to your body, and my body's saying, get out, it's cold. But I think for the cold plunge, it also is listen to your body afterwards. Of how do you feel? And Jess, I
Mhm.
think you have a unique experience of Jess is an overachiever. And when she started cold plunging, she started going for longer time periods. And I was like,
Yeah.
2 minutes, like 2.5 minutes, I'm out. So tell us, Jess, like you listened to your body when you started pushing your time frame
Yeah.
and what happened?
Yes. Well, let me just preface this that the only reason why I cold plunge is because you did. Otherwise, guys, I hated cold water and like get the swimming pool or the lakes in Nebraska growing up when it was cold. I hated it, especially when it got to my waistline. Like it like would create an anger response in me. So to think about cold plunging for health benefits, just like Trey said, it would have been a hard pass all day long, inside, outside, the whole situation. So anyway, thanks to Tracy, and I decided to try it because at the same time, I too have, had inflammatory issues, let's just say hormonal imbalances, body inflammation, aging, all the things. Like there could be a number of reasons why I might have chosen cold plunge to see if it would help modulate it. But I started out, and yes, my brain screamed very loudly. Tracy was in the room the very first time, and I was not only,
Hands down,
I mean, I was
funniest
breathing,
experience ever.
but I was moaning. I like was rhythmically moaning because my brain and body were saying, get the frick out. This is terrible. This sucks. This hurts. It's all the things. So that was my first experience. But I decided like, okay, what is a sweet spot, right? There's research that says 2 minutes at a certain degree of temperature of water is, and so I upped my time. I went from 2 minutes to 3 minutes to 4 minutes to 5 minutes. And I think it was around the 6 or 7 minute mark where I would be in. And I was going for shiver response because I listened to a podcast of a genius who's talking about like you want to go for shiver response. And again, blanket statement, guys, the shiver response induces different things. And so you might want to go for shiver response, but not all the time. But of course, that's what I was doing. And what happened was it overstressed my body, and I actually started feeling worse, more of my symptoms of inflammation, and my body just didn't feel good. So as Trey said, like listening to your body, there's both sides of the coin to that. And so then I just started tapering back. And I found at that time that my sweet spot was like a 3 or 4 minute plunge, 2 times a week and maybe 3 times a week. But now I guarantee it would be different. I just started back plunging. And I mean, again, my brain screamed, this sucks. Get out of the water. This hurts, all the things. So yeah, that's my little story. More is not better. I know we
Yeah.
think this so often,
Yeah.
more broccoli is better, more chicken's better, more sit-ups are better, more loaded squats are better, like all the things that we can take out of context. I think this is really what we want to come back to is let's put this in context for you. And one listener hearing this is going to hear something different and should hear something different as how it applies to you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think the time and the temperature, people always ask about that. Learning Nature Cure and like the foundations of naturopathic medicine, which Nature Cure is one of those, and that does include cold therapy, hot therapy, contrast too. And we always kind of thought like anywhere between 40 and 50 degrees. And I know a lot of people want the ice plunges and stuff that are like 32 degrees. That's not really necessary to get the response. If we really want to use this for healing physiologically, and a lot of people want the really cold for longer periods of time because it does something to them mentally. Like they feel like if they're overcoming that, it's almost, rewiring and retraining your brain to overcome stressful things outside of cold, which is great. But if you want it for the health benefits, like you said, like longer and colder doesn't necessarily mean better. 2 to 3 minutes is kind of the sweet spot. Few times a week. I mean, daily for things that are pretty gentle like that is obviously the best, but a lot of people can't do that daily, especially if you don't have a cold plunge at home. And then, I mean, there's alternatives. So cold plunging means you're getting your entire body, up it to your neck, including your torso and your legs and your feet inside of a cold tub. There's other alternatives to that if you don't want to go like fully submerged. You can do like ending your shower in cold for like 30 seconds to a minute. Soon in Arizona, we won't be able to do that. But if you are if you are somewhere where your water will get cold enough, that's a really good alternative. And obviously, you're warming up before with like a hot shower and then ending it. And then contrast therapy can be really good, especially for people who have like areas of inflammation or injury or even over organs. Like our neck and our thyroid, that's like a huge area where I tell a lot of people to do if their thyroid is sluggish or they have like suboptimal thyroid levels. We're doing alternating hot and cold, and that's either with like hot packs, cold packs, or even just like towels that you're heating up and getting cold. And then I do a treatment called constitutional hydrotherapy, which is my favorite, absolute favorite, even more than cold plunging, hydrotherapy.
Yeah.
But you're pretty much getting wrapped up in wool blankets with alternating hot and cold on your chest, and then you're getting flipped over and getting alternating hot and cold on your back, while a machine called an e-stim, which stimulates our smooth muscle. So all of our organs are surrounded by smooth muscle, and by that stimulating, it's helping our organs detox, get circulation, pump and function better. And that's kind of like an all-in-one treatment. It's last around an hour, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. And most people feel like they're at the spa. It's really great for,
Yes.
yeah, it feels like you're at the spa. So it's like,
I did
yeah,
these treatments with you,
yeah,
and it was one, it honored, I made an appointment for me, so it honored that time. So I knew it was going to be more than a 5 or 10 minute in and out, which is convenient for cold plunging as well. But for
right.
this, I booked a time and I came in, and yes, it was quiet. It was down regulating for my brain and nervous system. And even though, the hot and cold was being applied and I would have a response, or the electrical stimulation would be rhythmically stimulating me, it was very beneficial for me. In fact, now that you're talking about, like, you know what, I need to buy a package and get back on that hydro situation, because
Yeah.
it was so relaxing. And again, I felt so much better as a result of having multiple treatments of that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and so
I
many
second
people
that.
like it just for like the fact that you have to be like laying there for a certain period of time and you can't
Yep.
really do anything with your hands. So it kind of forces people to relax and take that time. And every person that I get is like, sometimes this is the only time where I like stop doing anything. And I'm like, that's so good. Cause like at the end of the treatment, they're like, wow, yeah, I
Mhm.
just feel really relaxed, even if it maybe didn't do anything physiologically in that one session, because oftentimes it does take like a compounding effect. But just the matter of being still can be
Yeah.
so good for us because we live in a world
Yeah.
where we don't do that.
Yeah. Amen.
That's a
I
good
totally
point. And you
second
made
that.
me think about just cold plunging, the 2 to 3 minutes that I do that even. It is a surefire opportunity that I'm actually going to focus on my breath.
Mhm.
And, you initially
Mhm.
have that like a heightened breath response when you first get in, but it's so amazing to watch. And I've been watching it on my watch, like tracking it, of what happens with my heart rate, what happens with my respiration. And it's so incredible to see during that 2 to 3 minutes how it drops. And so even if it's not, there's tons of benefits and pros and cons and things that we could talk about, but it's like maybe for you, it's just a matter of resetting your breath. And right there, that's a health win.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it could be cold plunge to do it, and it could be other factors to do it. But I think that's to me definitely a benefit right now that it just makes me breathe.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, we're talking about benefits, and we're jumping into this podcast because we know about cold plunge and we've talked about it and we've been doing it. Let's talk to the woman who's like, well, why might I choose the cold plunge? Trace, you talked about why you decided to choose it, and we're at the right place at the right time, crossing paths with the right people who are sciencey and tell us all this. And this is our wheelhouse. Like, we get geeky, we love to know these things. But to someone who doesn't do that, but they're suffering from X, Y, or Z, what does that look like, guys? Let's throw out some things that cold plunge can
Yeah.
help improve and modulate. One, obviously, we talked about
Well,
mental resilience,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
stress
yeah.
for sure.
response, and mental resilience,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely.
Like we
Okay,
live in a
so
culture where we're stressed out. So yeah, that can
yeah.
help to down regulate your stress response. But what else?
Okay, well, I started thinking as you were talking, and I was thinking about in physical therapy school, primarily with MS, we learned that MS patients respond well to cold, and kind of talking about some of the other autoimmune things with that. But looking back, nobody ever explained to me why that was a thing. I even went to a facility and we worked in a cold-ish pool and helped these patients. But now understanding the science, okay, it can help with some of these autoimmune things. Understanding the science of this brown fat. Nobody ever talks about brown fat. Most people are like, I want to get rid of my fat. And so I didn't know much about brown fat, but we want brown fat. And it has a lot of protective things in our body. It's the mitochondria are in our brown fat. And so the more brown fat we have, the more mitochondria we have. And mitochondria, basically, if you don't know what mitochondria are, they're kind of like powerhouses of our body. And so they're kind of in
Energy
charge of like
producers.
energy and
Mhm.
immune function. And then they also have a lot of neuroprotective health. So then when I go back and think about that whole MS thing back in PT school, nobody ever told me that brown fat, neuroprotective health, MS is a, demyelinization of brain cells. And all of a sudden, now we have this process that can boost our neuroprotective health, which, I mean, then we could go into cognition and brain fog and potentially even Alzheimer's. So mitochondria, they're powerhouses. Where is our brown fat, you guys? Remind me. Neck. Neck
Yeah,
has a lot of brown
yeah.
fat, right?
Yeah, I want to say like our abdomen has quite a bit.
Mhm.
Neck.
Shoulder blade.
Yeah.
Yep, up and around our clavicle, up and around the neck, which, guys, the whole freaking cold plunge, I just can't get myself down there anymore.
All the way to the neck. I
Which,
know.
I
It's
can't do the
hard.
you
neck.
guys,
I
it's funny because I feel like it's not worth it if I don't get my neck. There is
Mm-hmm.
something
yeah.
about my neck being cold that I feel this, I don't know, maybe it's all my little mitochondria in my neck being really
Yeah.
happy, but that is my sweet spot. I have to get to my neck. Otherwise, I'm like, that was dumb.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's how
funny.
I feel. It's just how my body feels.
Okay, so yeah, all right. Brown fat, mitochondria. You
Energy.
talk specifically about autoimmune, like and an MS being one of those. Energy, right? What else? Thyroid regulation,
Yep.
right? Like
Okay,
Hormones.
well,
balance.
Yeah.
and with the mitochondria, that also what does it do? It helps with our metabolism,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yes.
can help then with our you guys, my brain. Apparently I need a cold plunge. My brain's foggy. With metabolic health.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. On like
now
the
our
insulin
mitochondria
resistance.
are helping our mitochondria our metabolic health, which can help support our insulin, which
Mm-hmm.
can help support diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like
Yep.
we've talked about before, we know like blood sugar and stress response all play into our hormones in general, especially for women. So like if you're getting a really good like nervous system reset from the cold, then that's like helping your it's downregulating all your hormones, and it's kind of helping balance that. I really used it for sleep. I was in medical school when I started cold plunging, and like I was sleeping, but I knew it wasn't very restful because my brain was all the way on all the time, and I was just super stressed. And a lot of people in school were like really into like the sauna and cold plunge thing, and I'm like, I also hated cold, so I was like, that sounds horrible, but I've tried all these other things,
Mhm.
so I might as well try this. And like
Mhm.
immediately getting in, yeah, I was like hyperventilating. I was in there for like 15, 20 seconds, immediately got out and was like, oh my gosh. And like the place that I went to, luckily they have like a person who kind of helps you through the first few times with either like a sound bowl or a drum, and it kind of just gets you into that rhythmic breathing, which is also great because I've never seen a person get in a cold plunge that isn't deep breathing, and the deep breathing alone can just be really great for us. And she was like, yeah, you really just need to take big deep breaths and try to slow your breathing down, like you're going to be fine. And yeah, once I did that, it was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I had never slept better in my life. Those like first few months
Wow.
doing it pretty frequently, I was like, oh my, I was just so relaxed. Which kind of seems counterintuitive because I know a lot of people get energized from it, but
Totally.
it just depends on what your body needs, I feel like. And when you do it, I was doing it in the afternoon, like late afternoon, either right before or after dinner, and like that was like the end of the day for me, so it was more like a relaxing tool. Um and I think like
Yeah.
since we're talking about women specifically cold plunging, like there is caveats to like when and a woman should. I know in like Chinese medicine, um, the perspective is we shouldn't cold plunge if we're actively bleeding, like on our menstrual cycle, and that's mainly
Okay,
because
do you know why?
yeah, yeah. So,
Okay.
well, in theory, like physiologically, if you're in cold, it's constricting your blood vessels and you're getting more blood stagnation. And if you're doing that, which is why the hydrotherapy, like the alternating is really good because you're kind of doing that constriction and then you're doing the dilation, and it's kind of bringing all those blood and all the cells and stuff, all the healing things to those areas. But if you're only doing the constriction, it's constricting everything and kind of stagnant there. So if you're bleeding and your uterus is already, full of blood and you're also doing cold plunging, it's kind of keeping everything there. And in Chinese medicine theory, we really want our uterus to be warm so that it's not constricting because it can make things more painful. And if you're prone to having pain during your menses and cramps, then sometimes that can be worse. And this is also a theory. There is the physiological side. I have seen women who do cold plunge on their periods and they're totally fine. I choose not to just because intuitively I just feel like I do believe in the Chinese medicine principles. I mean, that's how I practice
I
acupuncture.
feel like it's more
So,
painful.
Yeah.
exactly. And that
I think
makes
it's way more
sense.
painful.
Yeah. And that makes sense because you're constricting everything. Um,
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's totally fine to listen. And we all are cyclical beings, so like same with like how we
Mhm.
eat and how we work out during our cycle, we should do the same with cold plunging. But I think if you're not bothered by it and you're a woman and you want a cold plunge and you're on your period and it doesn't hurt you, then do it. Like if you're getting the benefits of it, but I think pushing through and doing it when you know that it's not for you or you are in pain is
Mhm.
okay too. Um, and I think too, warming up before. So I typically don't recommend people cold plunging just like raw, like just they're doing whatever and then, hey, let's go in a cold plunge. Typically like people to warm up before. So whether that's like in an infrared sauna or you're doing like a hot tub or a really like intense workout where you're like sweating and getting pretty hot, then going in. But I usually don't like to just go in being at normal temperature because you won't get as many of the benefits because you're not having that opening of your blood vessels and then the constriction. Because really, that like
Mhm.
opening before going in the cold is going to help our bodies like flood with all of the blood and cells that it needs for that like anti-inflammatory response, essentially.
That's interesting.
Okay. That is interesting because I have
Yeah.
noticed if I'm on my period, it's just really miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And I've pushed through it, but I've also started listening to that I'm like, because I'm a really good just push through and suck it up. But lately I'm like, I just don't know if I want to anymore. So, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then also
What
with that,
else?
the hormone regulation, and we talked about, thyroid, but testosterone, there's a lot of research. We always think about testosterone being for men, but but testosterone is very heavy in women that
Mm-hmm.
people don't talk about it. They talk about estrogen in women, but it's very prevalent and very important in women. And
Mhm.
because of that, again, the mitochondria and the brown fats, and we're helping regulate some of those metabolic disorders, it can help with testosterone. And there's been some research too behind that with fertility
Mm-hmm.
for men and women, but like PCOS is a huge thing right now. I think we talked about it last time.
Mm-hmm.
And with the PCOS, and that's a hormone disruptor too. It's a metabolic disruptor. And
Mhm.
then those women are struggling sometimes to get pregnant. So can we help regulate hormones potentially with cold exposure? I think that's
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's just like also shows like how intertwined everything is. You can't only
Yeah.
work on one piece and expect all of the pieces to work. Cold plunging is just a tool to use with everything else. I think it also shows like stress, which we've talked about so much. And I know a lot of people know can affect so many other things. If we really, especially using cold plunging or hydrotherapy in ways to like reduce stress and our cortisol, then that plays into our body's ability to actually make our hormones correctly. We have
Mhm.
something called pregnenolone steal. So, pregnenolone is like the molecule in between our cholesterol making progesterone or our cholesterol making cortisol, which is the stress hormone. And sometimes, if we're too stressed, our body steals everything from making our sex hormones and it just makes cortisol. And that's when we have people with tanked testosterone, tanked estrogen, tanked progesterone, and that's because our body is just in fight or flight all the time and it's doing what it's told to do because it's like, "Oh, we're stressed, so let's make more of this hormone." But then really getting that back into balance, and that's why and cold plunging can be great for that. And yeah, you only need
Mhm.
like a few minutes a few times a week and then it from out of the cold, you're getting the benefits, right? So like you're not only getting this hormone balancing for the 2 to 3 minutes that you're in cold. Once you get out and our body is trained to have this response, it slowly starts going back into balance and us being able to make these hormones.
Yeah. Yeah. I think,
Yeah.
as you were talking, it's a quick return on the investment as far as, if you're not doing a hydro, which is I mean, the principles, the outcome and the experience is different, but it has similar benefits. But
Hmm.
the return on the investment is a 2-minute cold plunge. Like you can get in, if warmed up, you get in, you get out, you're done. And then there's these effects after the fact. And then 2 minutes. I think the research when I started was talking about there's a sweet spot around 12 minutes per week being, of cold exposure. And again, I don't remember what the markers were that they were measuring. 12 minutes of cold plunging cumulatively a week gives you the best benefits of X, Y, and Z. But let's just say it applies to all of these bennies.
Hmm.
So it is, you don't have to go to 5 60-minute exercise classes to get benefits. You don't have to cold plunge a lot for a long time, but the compounding interest of that, right, is really where you start to see the bennies and you start noticing things that you maybe didn't even know you were dealing with before until you realize you're not dealing with them, or you didn't have energy at certain times of the day and then you find that you are having energy or mental clarity or all the different things. I think it's so cool and very subtle. I mean, except the cold experience itself is not subtle. But cumulatively, the repeated exposure over time, Trace and I always talk about the compounding interest of little bits at a time, leads you towards best health. And that is definitely a principle that could be applied here to cold exposure, with the body plunge for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think there's a lot of, what's the best temperature? And you're going to have the guys out there who are like, it's got to be icy and you got to be breaking up chunks of ice and everything in between. And I've done both. And I really think, if you are terrified of cold, to just jump into ice, that might be extreme. And if that's
Yes.
too extreme that you're going to get out and say, I'm never going to do this again, then maybe that's too extreme. And a lot of what I have seen is really the right temperature is the temperature that's gonna scare you a little bit. And us Arizona girls, like right now, the pool scares me a little bit, but I can get in and it scares me a little bit. And it's, it's not icy and it's probably not even that cold for someone who's not from Arizona. But does it scare you a little bit? And do you feel like that little sense of challenge of I'm gonna purposely give myself a little stress that I can adapt to? And that's that principle of what's it called? Hormesis, where it's we're purposely putting ourselves under a load of stress. And that load of stress could be a little water that makes you a little scared. It could be an exercise program that's a little challenging and pushing ourselves. And these are the stresses that are healthy stresses that teach our bodies that we can adapt and that we can rebound and be resilient. And I think that's really powerful to teach your body like, hey, you can you can put yourself through hard things and you can choose hard things so that the hard things in life that you don't choose become a little bit easier, that you can handle them and navigate them better. And that's powerful.
Yeah, well, that in and of itself sells cold plunge right there. Goodness gracious. Well said.
Wow.
The life twists, guys, the tea of best in our world, bendy, extendy, shifty, twisty, the life twists are going to come. There will be changes and unplanned things. And so, yeah, if you can be supporting your body and your health one way with cold plunge, that your body becomes more resilient, your mind becomes more resilient, your will, your energy, all the things, then you're much better equipped to take the day-to-day little irritating twists and then the holy poop, my daughter had cardiac arrest twists, to I'm divorced, I'm bankrupt, I'm getting married in November of 2026, like all the different twists. And twists don't necessarily mean it's bad. It's just, it's a change in the plan. It's a change in what you thought was going to happen or with the direction that you were moving. And that's life. That's life.
Yeah. Amen. I know
Yes.
that's a huge thing
So
that
we're
I
not,
say. Yeah, like people, we're gonna experience life. We can't get away from stressors and everything. And if you build your body up to become more resilient, whether that's cold plunging or whatever modalities you're choosing, the more resilient we can become, the more we can handle life's twists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're not saying you have to cold plunge. We're not saying cold plunging is bad. We're saying listen to your body. And all three of us, we have chosen to cold plunge in this season of our lives. And we've all done it a little bit different throughout our cold plunging journey. We've all done it a little bit different and we do it different from each other. And that's just part of like finding what's best for you, what fits your body, what fits your needs. And really, I think coming down to that why does it even matter? Why do it? Don't do it just to check a box because, oh, I heard somewhere that it's good for me. Check. I hate it every second of it. I hate how it makes me feel. Then maybe that's not your thing, but it doesn't resonate with you. So if it does, it could be something to start entertaining.
Yeah. And reach out to us with questions. I mean, we wanted to put this out there because we've heard now the trend was women should not cold plunge. And like, well, no, that's not accurate. an expert's words got taken out of context. You've got to consider the person and the demographic, the population sample that's being studied and talked about. And so no blanket statements here for you ladies. We hate that. You are an individual and you are different this week compared to next week and from last week and in 5 years and 10 years. And so your decisions should be made informed. And if you're not informed, then look for answers and reach out to us. We would love to be resources and support tools for you on your health journeys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
for sure. Anything else that you guys
Okay.
want to add? Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
What are we loving, guys?
I
Okay, I'm
am
gonna tell you. I'm
loving-
gonna tell you what I'm loving because my love has to do with cold.
Oh, nice.
All right. So, it's getting hot in Phoenix, and I'm loving cold, wet socks. And we've talked about cold,
Ooh.
wet socks on this podcast with Christina
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
immune supporting function. But my family, we're a bunch of weirdos, and we have been doing cold, wet socks at night before we go to bed. And I'll tell you what, like, especially on the days like we've been outside a lot and it's hot and my boys come back from Taekwondo or whatever, like everyone's just hot and irritated. And so we put the socks in the freezer and we put the little cozies on. And I think I sleep better when I do cold, wet socks before bed. Like I think it
Bet.
just kind
I
of
bet.
um cools my temperature down. You know, they talk about like if your feet are cold, you're colder and you sleep better. So cold wet socks for the win of helping me sleep, not just immune function.
I love that. Love it.
There's my fun
Yeah.
tip. Fun summer tip.
I love it. How long have you guys been doing it?
I mean, we do it off and on, but we've been pretty consistent since it's been hot. And one of
Okay.
my kids said, one of my kids told somebody, some random person a week ago that he does it. And they just kind of looked at, he's like, you know, we do cold, wet socks in the night. And the guy was like, okay,
Okay,
just has
yeah.
no idea what we're talking about.
I call them magic socks when I give them like the
They're
protocol to people because it is magic.
Yeah.
they're
It
magic.
is
Okay, well, they
magic.
also help you sleep better. So
Oh,
there you go.
I gotta get back on the magic socks thing. What
All
about
right,
you,
guys, what
Christina?
else?
What are you loving?
so I probably have said this before, but I really like the Jigsaw electrolytes. That's the ones that I
Okay.
use. The fruit punch one is the best. It literally tastes like juice to me, and I probably drink them every single day and have been for years now. Especially in the summer, because we know, especially in Phoenix, we're sweating and it's very hot and we lose a lot of our minerals that way. So, yeah, the Jigsaw
Mhm.
electrolytes are the best. They have like lemon lime. I actually think they just came out with a new flavor too, like an orange or something. They have like a mixed berry. Yeah, they're really good. And you can get them in like a container where you just scoop out, or you can get them in packets
Mm.
so it's easy, like on the go.
And where do you get yours at?
Nice.
I get mine through Fullscript or like at our
Yeah,
clinic through
Fullscript.
Fullscript. Yeah, which is like the online
Okay.
medicinary.
Yeah. It's been a bit since I've had the
Awesome.
Jigsaw electrolytes. Well, speaking of electrolytes, what I am loving is a new flavor of LMNT, Element, and
Oh,
it is
dude, it's good.
lemonade.
Oh, I want to
And
try. I've
it
been seeing
legit
it.
tastes like it makes it taste like lemonade without the
Oh,
acidic
Uh-huh.
or pulp or whatever. I mean, or the
yum.
sugary. Like it's perfect.
We
So
got ours
yeah,
yesterday and it's good.
Oh, I want to try.
yeah,
I've been
And
seeing everyone get them. It looks so good.
yeah.
it's so good. And we have them in the freezer right now for later today. We made strawberry lemonade popsicles with the
Ooh,
element
Oh, I saw that.
salt.
See, you're always the person
I
who
have
reads
to
the
do
pamphlet and
this.
then tries
Yeah.
something.
It's my kids. My kids read the pamphlet and they wanted to make popsicle.
Yeah.
Well, one of my children does once. And so I'll
Okay,
let you
well, we
guys know
want
how
to
the
hear the
popsicles
results.
are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So good.
Okay, well,
Awesome. All
all
right,
right.
guys.
Reach out to us with any
Thanks for
questions
joining us,
about
guys.
cold
Yeah.
plunging. If you should, if you shouldn't, why should you? Otherwise, guys, cheers to your best health, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.